how she got her name. Now we'll talk a little bit about training as well throughout this presentation, but you might notice that sometimes we will take a little break from our animals. You'll notice our trainers will step away for a moment, kind of like a little recess for the animal. So that's what we were just doing, and then we can step back and move on with our training session. Now, like I said, Panama was found stranded on a beach in Panama City, Florida. And the reason she was rescued is because she was found stranded. Now, the reason we think that she was stranded, she's going to tell you guys all about it, is because she actually was very sick. Now, oftentimes when dolphins are very sick, they will strand themselves because they're a voluntary breather. So that means that they have to think about every breath that they take. They have to choose to come up to the surface to take that breath of air.
Hey, Winter.
Now, Panama, when she was up out of the water for an extended period of time, you might notice that she has scars here on her back. These are actually from her stranding, from being up out of the water. They can actually get sunburn. They can get second and third degree burns. So that's what these scars are actually from on Panama's body. They're actually similar to Nicholas's scars upstairs. You might notice that he has them all over his back. And those are from second and third degree burns as well from his stranding. So again, that's what happens when dolphins are up out of the water for an extended period of time. They have very, very sensitive skin. And so they can actually get sunburned just like people can. Now the reason that Panama was very sick, causing her to strand, we think had to do with the fact that she was known to be a part of a group of dolphins known as beggar dolphins. Now these dolphins were going around to boats and they were begging for food from people. That's right, Panama. And so they were actually giving her things that she shouldn't be eating, and she wouldn't normally be eating out in the wild, like human food or maybe bait fish. Fish that had been sitting out all day probably had all sorts of bacteria on it. So it wasn't very healthy for Panama. It caused her to get very sick, get that serious bacterial infection, causing her, again, to strand herself. Like I said, when dolphins get very sick, they'll strand themselves.